Hello everyone, my name is Thitaree Tanprasert and I'm a PhD student from University of British Columbia. Today I'd like to present a new way to increase students' engagement with educational videos through secondhand observation of other people's interaction. So educational videos, they are suitable resources for learners in isolated settings. However, they lack social connectedness and this could lead to students having low engagement. One approach to remedy this is to have a virtual agent like a chatbot that interact with the students. However, although there are many works on how to generate a clever response, there is not much work on how to present these responses in a way that would increase the student engagement. So in this paper, we tackle this problem and we present a solution called scripted vicarious dialogues, where the student would observe instructional dialogues between multiple virtual characters around a video. And these instructional dialogues is the extra content that is either generated by the virtual agent or the instructors or anyone. The scenario here is that there are four virtual characters together in a Zoom classroom. There is a TA character and 3 students character, and the TA character is sharing the screen and playing the video so that they're all watching it together, and they're all having these dialogues in the chat, as you can see on the right. The important thing to note is that this is a vicarious dialogue, and what this means is that the real student cannot interact with the virtual characters or influence the dialogues in any way. The script is fixed, and this is the novel part of our solution, which is that the real student don't actually have to interact with anyone or anything, but they can increase engagement just by observing the experience, the interactions of these virtual characters. So now let me give you a quick demo. So you start by clicking this button, and each time you click, there will be a new message that pop up like this. And you can also see that on the left side, there is a dot lighting up. So each dot corresponds to one message or one emoji. After you click the last dot, you can start on this bar, which is the portion of the real lecture video. You can see that there are these dialogues scattered across the videos, but they only happen when the actual video is not playing. So for example, here, the video is paused because the TA character is going to ask the question in the chat. And so you can see where the dialogues are in the video and use these dots or bar to navigate to any part of the dialogues or to the video. So the driving research questions of this project is how can we design SVD in a way that would increase isolated learners' emotional, behavioral, and cognitive engagement? And there are 2 phases to this study. The first phase is about designing SVD and the second phase is about evaluation. So let me talk about the first phase. In this phase, we conducted participatory design study with 9 university instructors and TAs. And then we created preliminary prototype, which was evaluated by 10 undergraduate students. And based on this, we came up with 3 classroom interactions that must be included in SVD, as well as 3 design guidelines that inform the prototype that you just saw the demo just now. So the 3 interactions that must be included, the first one is Q&A. So this is pretty straightforward. It's kind of what I just showed you now. For example, if the students have a question, the TA character pauses the video and answer the question, or the TA characters pause the video to ask the students some quiz question. These are all Q&As. The second kind is the more non-educational one called social chit-chat. So these are like greetings at the beginning of the class. The characters checking in with each other about how they're doing. So these are the things that would create a feeling of connectedness to the characters, as well as bringing up the energy before starting the class. And the last kind of interaction is nonverbal reactions, such as emojis. So these are important in Zoom classroom settings. Moving on to the 3 design guidelines, the first one is to balance between realism and virtuality, and this is the most important one. What this means is that the interaction between these virtual characters cannot look too virtual or too real. If it's too real, the students might compare themselves to these characters, which are scripted to be unrealistically good students, and so we don't want that. On the other hand, if it's too virtual, the students might feel like it's uncanny and feel disconnected from the experience instead of being engaged. We found that having this kind of cartoon profile pictures, static picture with text messages is a good compromise for this. Whereas if we use synthesized AI voice or animated characters, that would be too virtual for the students to be engaged. The second design guidelines and the third design guidelines are pretty straightforward, so you can read more about them in our paper. Moving on from that, the second phase of the study, we want to evaluate this prototype. We want to see how SVD affects learners' engagement, and to do this, we compare it to in-video quizzes. And the reason we compare it to in-video quizzes is because SVD is novel for its social characteristics and also its vicarious characteristics. So there are multiple character settings, and the real students is only watching over the shoulder of these characters, but they are not directly answering the TA's question or anything. Contrasting with that, in video quizzes, is a non-social experience. There is only the student and the quiz, and it's a direct learning experience, meaning that the students actually have to answer the quiz question. So we want to see between these two, which one learners prefer, and also how it affects their engagement, which we measured by self-reported questionnaires. So the results is that 25 out of 40 participants prefer SVD over the baseline, as you can see from this plot. They give some possible reasons for this. So the first one is that if you value interaction over conciseness, then you would prefer SVD. The second reason is if you're comfortable with virtual characters, you don't find them uncanny easily, then you would prefer SVD. And the last reason is if you're willing to click through the message constantly, you would prefer SVD. Whereas if you want to just sit back and watch, then you would prefer the baseline in video quizzes more. As for the result engagement, SVD results in significantly higher emotional and behavioral engagement for the group of participants who prefer SVD. And although we didn't find any significant results for the cognitive engagement, we get qualitative feedbacks from the participants who say that SVD could be effective for cognitive engagement in certain learning domains or activities. So if you want to know about that, you can find out more in our paper. Finally, I would like to bring up some discussion points based on our experience designing and evaluating SVD. The first point is, in order for SVD to be effective to more people, it's important that some parameters in the design should be personalizable. For example, if some people don't like to click through the messages constantly, we should have an option where the message just flow automatically at certain rate so that SVD could be impactful for their engagement as well. The second point is about the script quality. So definitely the quality of the script affects the engagement. We included some design guidelines in the paper about how to write a good script, but going forward in the future, it would also be beneficial to know how much the script quality actually affects the measured engagement. And the last point is about streamlining the scripting process. Because we spent a long time writing the script, we thought that it's quite impossible to expect actual instructors to spend as much time writing such script. In the paper, we talk about how the current NLP technology could enable automatic translation of normal FAQs into this dialogue form. So in the future, we might consider creating an automated authoring tool to help instructors create this kind of SVD experience more conveniently. To conclude, in this work we present scripted vicarious dialogues, and our contributions include the design guidelines, the design artifacts, and the empirical evaluation of SVD on students' engagement. We would like to acknowledge the organizations who help fund our research, as well as the members of research labs at UBC who provided valuable discussions and feedback. Thank you very much for listening.